Good morning. And welcome to Allen Avenue Unitarian Universalist Church's in-person and online worship. Whether today is your first time here or you've been coming for years, we're so glad you are with us. My name is Pam Jackson. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm serving as this morning's worship associate. We are growing a community that transforms lives through the power of love. Our mission calls us to celebrate diversity, encourage spiritual growth, and promote social responsibility while we travel on and care for the earth. A special welcome to those at home who are joining us on Zoom today. If you're attending for the first time, please go to our website and fill out the welcome card so we can know more about you. And for those on Zoom today, you're invited to stay on after the meeting for coffee hour with Reverend Tara. And I have a couple more announcements. One is that every year, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, we decorate for the holidays here. So it's on the 30th, November 30th at 10 a.m. Volunteer helpers would be great. It takes about 2 hours, but any help, anytime you can come and help is appreciated. And there's one more announcement.
Two weeks.
13 days. Mm-hmm. Oh dear.
Be a dear.
Be a dear.
Be a dear. So, for those of you who think we're out of our minds and maybe you're new, the A2U2 Holiday Artisans Fair is 2 weeks from yesterday. That's December 7th, the week after Thanksgiving weekend. And I know you're excited because we're excited.
We are.
Excited? I'm excited. Yeah, we're really excited. In your order of service, you have an insert that gives you lots more details, and you saw it in this week's e-blast as well. There are lots of ways for you to help. This is all hands on deck. All hands on deck, right?
Yes,
So
and feet.
Yeah, so I know some of you are baking. Some of you have talked to Lisa. If you would raise your hand, in charge of our cafe for making goodies to serve for breakfast and lunch. John Howard is back there someplace. There he is, right? John, you can see about making wonderful fine food gifts for the food table. Reggie Robnett, I don't know if she's here.
I don't think she's here today.
But any
She's
kind of
crafting.
crafts that you're making would be great. And we have wonderful gift baskets, right, way in the back.
Those wooden benches in the back have multiple baskets, and if you need something to put in the basket, like an idea, please talk to either Cynthia or Terry or I, and we'll give you some ideas.
So we got the baskets. All you got to do is fill them with wonderful things, right?
We also have the wrappers for too.
Wrappers, we have bows, we have everything, right? Sonia just came in and she's doing live deco. If you take some of your holly out of your yard and make, get a log, make a centerpiece, whatever, wreaths, all kinds of things will be there. Lots of ideas. And there are some opportunities for you to help us out even before the fair, right?
Yes. On Thursday, before the fair, a few people would be getting together in the afternoon to set up tables. But more importantly, on Friday, at 11:15, we'll be decorating. We'll be putting the tablecloths on, hanging the signs, making out the sheets, the tally sheets. So that's a day that we could use some helping hands to just do some busy work with that.
It's lots of fun, sit around
Yes,
the table.
yes.
And most important, on Monday, a week from tomorrow, 5:30,
On the 2nd is the
Right.
Needham dipping party.
dip chocolate, make, all kinds of
And we'll
packages,
be
wrap
bocking them up. People that can make nice, pretty bows on top of them. We have tons of ribbon, so
Yes,
come
and
do that.
finally, we need people to volunteer to be greeters, to be floaters, to give our table people a little break during the day. If you're willing to hop in and stand behind a table for a few minutes or half an hour or whatever.
And the
that'd be great.
cafe, I think the cafe really could use some help. People to either be in the kitchen to help, put little items on the trays to bring out to people that are selling the items. That section has quite a few opportunities still left. So
Yes.
there's a spot for everyone.
There is, and a great children's room, so tell your friends with kids to come, deposit the kids, go shopping, do all kinds of things. And if you have any questions, come see us. We are so excited and looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry and Celeste. Now, we invite you all to take this opportunity to silence your cell phones so that we can be fully present to one another. After the service, please grab a cup of coffee or tea in the kitchen window and stay for conversation, or head down to the end of the long hallway to join a group for a brown bag lunch. Those on Zoom can stay on and connect with Reverend Tara today. And now let us center our hearts and minds with the ringing of the chimes.
Good morning. Good to see you all. My name is Reverend Tara. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the minister of this congregation, Allen Avenue UU Church, or A2U2 for short. Pam and I are joined in leadership this morning by Emily, our Director of Religious Education, and Dale, our Director of Music. And our worship celebration today is designed with all ages in mind, so there is no separate RE program. If, however, your child would prefer to play in the nursery, we do have nursery care available with Kaylee and Lex, and you can see an usher in the back of the sanctuary. We'll also have a ritual involving eating. So that's what your toothpick is for. You may have already lost it, probably. We'll try to figure that out right before we start that. So Zoom folks, now would be a great time to make sure you have something edible near you. A bite of bread, a few pieces of cereal, an M&M, so you can participate from home. It's truly a joy to be together with members and friends of all ages in the sanctuary today. The wiggles and noises that the youngest among us bring are a joyful reminder of the life and vibrancy of this beloved community where all ages are welcome and cherished. We remember that a noisy church is a healthy church. Amen. We come together each Sunday in the context of a heartbreaking world. Our country is polarized, and it is hard to understand, to even talk to one another. And many of us are still tender-hearted from November 5th. I know I am. We come together each Sunday to remember and to practice being human in community, to sit beside those who share our values but not all of our viewpoints, and to be reminded that the practice of coming together, the practice of community itself is sacred. Thanksgiving is complicated for so many reasons, but love is not. This morning, we practice being who we as Unitarian Universalists are called to be, a community with love at the center. So as you settle in and open your hearts this morning, hear these words of invocation by Jan Richardson. And the table will be wide, and the welcome will be wide, and the arms will open wide to gather us in, and our hearts will open wide to receive, and we will come as children who trust there is enough, and we will come unhindered and free, and our aching will be met with bread, and our sorrow will be met with wine, and we will open our hands to the feast without shame. and we will turn toward one another without fear. And we will give up our appetite for despair, and we will taste and know delight. And we will become bread for a hungering world, and we will become drink for those who thirst, and the blessed will become the blessing, and everywhere will be the feast. Come and be welcome. You are joyfully called to worship.
As we light our sanctuary chalice this morning, those joining on Zoom are invited to light a chalice or candle near you to connect us more deeply with one another. We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is in the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us.
And we light our community candle this morning as we approach the Thanksgiving holiday, holding in our hearts the painful truth of this nation's history of violence toward Indigenous peoples. Will you take a breath with me? Please join me now in singing our opening hymn. We sing now together, number 67 in your gray hymnal and up on the screen. We will sing verses 1, 3, and 4. 1, 3, and 4. After Dale plays it through once, please rise in body or spirit. I'd like to invite up Dolive, Basil, and Liam. I tried to move the table where the camera could pick it up so everyone could see, but I'm not sure. Okay, and you guys can have a seat around the table. Long ago, there lived an old woman who had a wish. She wished more than anything to see for herself the difference between heaven and hell. The monks in the temple agreed to grant her request. They put a blindfold around her eyes and said, "First, you shall see hell." When the blindfold was removed, the old woman was standing at the entrance to a great dining hall. The hall was full of square tables, each piled high with the most delicious foods, meats, vegetables, fruits, breads, and desserts of all kinds. The smells that reached her nose were wonderful. The old woman noticed that in hell, there were people seated around those square tables. She saw that their bodies were thin and their faces were gaunt and creased with frustration. Each person held a spoon. The spoons must have been 3 feet long. They were so long that the people in hell could reach the food on the platters, but they could not get the food back to their mouths. As the old woman watched, she heard their hungry, desperate cries. "I've seen enough," she cried. "Please let me see heaven." So once again, the blindfold was put around her eyes, and the old woman heard, "Now you shall see heaven." When the blindfold was removed, the old woman was confused, for there she stood again at the entrance to a great dining hall, filled with square tables piled high with some lavish feast. And again, she saw that there were people sitting just out of arm's reach of the food with those 3-foot-long spoons. But as the old woman looked closer, she noticed the people in heaven were plump and had rosy, happy faces. As she watched, a joyous sound of laughter filled the air. And soon the old woman was laughing too, for now she understood the difference between heaven and hell for herself. The people in heaven were using those long spoons to feed each other.
Haha. Gotcha. Thank you, helpers. It is true. Would you join me in the spirit of prayer in a Thanksgiving meditation by Naomi King? Every day we experience hunger and yearning for food, for approval, for respect, for love, for meaningful work, for any and enough work, for home, for family and friends, for health, healing, for hope, for the departed, for the newly arrived, for the green trees, for the cool, clean waters, for shade in the heat of the day, and for stars to light the velvet night. Every day, we are invited anew to be thankful. Thankful for food, for approval, for respect, and for love. Thankful for meaningful work, for any and enough work. Thankful for home, for family, friends, for health, for healing, for hope, for the departed, for the newly arrived. thankful for the green trees or the brown trees shedding everything. Thankful for the cool, clean waters. Thankful for shade in the heat of the day and for stars to light the velvet night. Our hearts beating in liberating flight, we soar in gratitude for all the gifts we have on this day, in this lifetime of being, and turn again to share this bounty with all that is. May we do just that. Blessed be, and amen.
Now is the time in our service where we engage in the spiritual practice of generosity. Our gifts support the ministries of this congregation and our work in the broader community. Each week, 1/3 of our offering is given away to a local nonprofit organization doing work to advance our shared values in the world. This month's Share the Plate recipient is Window Dressers of Maine. They bring community volunteers of all economic and social situations together to improve the warmth and comfort of interior spaces, lower heating costs, and reduce carbon dioxide pollution by producing low-cost insulating window inserts that function as custom interior-mounted storm windows. Important as we enter the winter months. Donations can be made now as the basket is passed through the donate button on our website, or if you are a member on Breeze, remembering to make note that your gift is for Share the Plate. If you are visiting us for the first time this morning, please know that your presence is your gift to us. At this time, our offering will be collected and gratefully received.
Many memories are shaped around the tastes and smells of food. Those memories become part of our experiences and shape our identity. Our relationship with food operates on both primal and profound levels. Food fuels our bodies physically, but meals are also where people express themselves. People are creative in their cooking. They send a message through their food. Food is also a metaphor for social and economic structures in our contemporary context, as well as in the Bible. Meals are occasions where people either enact inclusion and deep care for others through table fellowship and radical hospitality, or practice exclusion and tell others they are not invited. In that way, food functions as an extension of our values, of ourselves.
I have a memory from many years ago of my little cousin, who is now a young adult, over 6 feet tall. Our family sat around the Thanksgiving table. It was actually a lot of tables pushed together of different shapes and sizes, covered in tablecloths to appear as one table. You know what I'm talking about? As we began our family meal, my grandfather, the patriarch, began by saying some words. It wasn't grace. I am pretty much the only religious person in my whole extended family. We're not sure how that happened. It wasn't grace, it was more of a speech about gratitude and family and that kind of stuff, and it went on for a while. The year I'm thinking of had my cousin at about age 4. Grandfather had finished pontificating, this toast of sorts, and the eating had begun. All of a sudden, my cousin's tiny little voice from the far end of the table, the kids' end, squeaked, "Grandpa, will you tell the story again?" Lots of laughter. Thanksgiving is complicated. At least it is for me. There's the holiday itself, all wrapped up in colonialism and genocide and white supremacy. All the darn food allergies. My God. And then there's my beloved biological family with divorces and alcoholism and some mental illness sprinkled in. I know I'm in good company. So I don't want to focus too much on Thanksgiving, so much as I want to open our hearts to story. Tell the story again. Because we do tell a story in when and how and with whom we gather. We tell a story in what we serve, who is invited and who makes what, whether or not we choose to go or get invited in the first place. All of this tells a story about community, about hospitality and welcome. All of this tells a story about love. As Raj Nadella says in our reading that Emily offered this morning, meals are occasions where people either enact inclusion and deep care for others through table fellowship and radical hospitality, or practice exclusion and tell others they are not invited. What story does your table tell? Not just your Thanksgiving table, if you have one, or even your kitchen table on any given night. What story does the table of your life tell? Are the lights on? Is the welcome warm? Does justice and love abide? How do you feed one another in body, spirit, and mind? What is shared? What is allowed to be spoken? And what remains unspoken? Unitarian Universalism calls us to be a road, a table that is wide, with all God's children side by side. Our faith invites us to be people of lavish welcome, which does not always mean inviting others in, but at times requires that we go out, that we meet folks where they are, outside of our comfort zone even, try to understand, be willing to head back home by another road, by an unexpected road. Those who are blessed, in the words of Jan Richardson, those who are blessed will become a blessing. And with a people so blessed and a table so wide, everywhere will be the feast. We're going to sing now together, "Come to the Table of Grace." The hymn will be only up on the screen. Dale will play it through once, and then you're invited to rise. Actually, you can go ahead and rise now because it's pretty short. Rise in body or in spirit as we join our voices in song. We're going to invite you to the table, so to speak. Much of religious practice around the world is built on the sharing of food. The necessity of eating reminds us of our dependence on each other and on forces beyond us. Practices such as participating in the Eucharist, observing kashrut, making offerings to ancestors and deities, and others help us to remember our place in the web of existence.
It is a tangled web. Within our food systems, exploitation and oppression are entwined with love and care. There are trade-offs and delicate balances, questions of labor and land management, of intent and impact. Every bite we eat carries with it stories of suffering and stories of joy. Let us be mindful of the pain, even as we choose in this moment to lean into pleasure, to delight in the food that will soon touch our lips.
This ritual of sharing food, of a communion of sorts, brings us into connection with an awareness of the sacred web, acknowledging the spirit of life that runs through the food system, our communities, and through our embodied experiences of eating.
The produce of this land will now be passed among you. Select either a piece of apple or bread, vegan with gluten, using your toothpick, and hold on to it until it is time to eat together so that we may share the moment of tasting.
If you haven't already, I now invite you to savor your bread or fruit, chewing it slowly and thoroughly as I offer these words of blessing after I chew mine. Let us be conscious of flavors, textures, energy, of that simple pleasure of eating, of the miracle of photosynthesis by which air and water are converted into food. Let us be aware of the work of the farmer who planted the seeds, tended the crop, harvested the greens, of the blood, sweat, and tears of making a farm. Let us be thankful for the rain and water cycle, for the livestock, for the plants of seasons past, broken down into compost and resurrected, for the earthworms and bugs and bacteria and fungi whose work we cannot see and yet depend on. Let us be grateful for our desires which pull us outside of ourselves and lean into communion with other people, species, and plants, exposing us to new ideas, offering opportunities for growth and change. May they lead us toward the pleasures of existence. Let us eat together as often as we can, recognizing that we never eat alone. Blessed be. Our closing hymn this morning is up on the screen only. The church is like a table. Dale will play it through once, and then you're invited to rise in body or in spirit as we join our voices as one. And we will become bread for a hungering world. And we will become drink for those who thirst. And the blessed will become the blessing. And everywhere will be the feast. Our worship has ended, and our service begins. Friends, go in peace.